Hello, this history video is about the Inca civilization. In the lower left-hand corner of this slide, you'll see a picture of Machu Picchu, which are some famous Incan ruins. Alright, there's nothing for you to write in for this information on this slide, but did you know that if you visited Peru, you would be in what used to be the Inca Empire? Wouldn't that be really cool? So, the Inca Empire grew from its beginnings, and by the 1500s, it was 350,000 square miles. Well, what does that mean? Well, it equals 45 of the state of Massachusetts, approximately. That is the equivalent of the Inca Empire. One really important part of the Inca Empire was their system of roads. The system linked all parts of the empire. There was approximately 15,000 miles of road, according to the source where I got this information, which is a book called History Alive, the Medieval World. So every 15 to 30 miles, there were shelters for the running messengers to rest. That doesn't mean that's how long they ran for, but there were kind of like little rest stops for them because the road system stretched throughout the whole empire. So basically, the running messengers would run a few miles, and then they would run into a new running messenger. They would have to give the message to them, and it would be memorized because the Inca had no written language. With this relay system, messages were able to travel over 250 miles a day. That's approximately the same as traveling from Boston to New York City, and I think that's a lot of ground to cover in one day between relay runners. So I think that is very impressive. Now the running system went throughout the Inca Empire and the Andes Mountains, which inspired this musical clip. You don't have to worry, 'cause baby, there ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low enough, ain't no river wide enough to keep me from getting to you, baby. So the messages that were carried along the road system were memorized words and often included quipus as well. So the quipus had knots at different places and on different colored strings, which would stand for different statistics that the Inca were trying to keep track of. So you could keep track of the population in certain areas, the number of soldiers available for a battle, or that fought in a battle, tribute, which would be payment from conquered people, what was collected. And the quipus were a good substitute for a written language since the Inca didn't have one. And also, the quipus show a way that the Inca were advanced and resourceful because they thought of a way to keep a record in spite of not having a written language. And if you look at the picture on the right-hand side, it just gives you a sense of the knots and place value of the knots. So the ones are at the bottom, and then tens, and then hundreds towards the top of the quipu. As you're watching the video and taking down notes, you should pause the video if you need to catch up with the writing of the notes, and if the video is continuing but you're still writing something from the previous topic. The next topic has to do with the emperor. Okay, so the emperor, the title of the emperor was the Sapa Inca. And the first Sapa Inca is shown on the screen, Pachacuti. The emperor was carried by servants everywhere on a golden litter, which is what this thing over here is, all the people carrying him, and it's like this big throne kind of setup. People did not look him in the eye. The emperor could have many wives and hundreds of children. His primary wife was called the Koya, and sometimes this was the Sapa Inca's full sister because they wanted to ensure the purity of the royal blood. So that's a little different than what we do today, but that's what happened. And the heir to the Sapa Inca was chosen from the Sapa Inca's children, so it didn't automatically go to the oldest child or son. One thing that was unique about the Inca was that they had three levels of the noble social class. All right, so below the emperor you have the nobles. There's three different groups. Um, Nobles had certain privileges like gifts of land, servants, llamas, fine clothing. They could marry more than one wife. And the highest group of nobles were descendants of the Sapa Inca, and so they were considered more pure than the other ones. They controlled the empire's land and valuable resources like llamas and gold. They had the most important positions in the military, government, and as priests as well. The second highest group of nobles were added as nobles as the Inca Empire grew because they needed more nobles to lead the government. They were considered Incas by privilege because they became nobles, and sometimes they were leaders from Cusco, which is the capital, and sometimes also commoners were able to gain this status. The third group of nobles were local leaders of conquered people, so they were leaders in areas that were then conquered by the Inca, and some of their jobs included collecting taxes, and they inspected people's homes to make sure that people were following Inca laws and customs, including they had some high standards of how clean your home was supposed to be. This song clip is for the nobles who were tax collectors. Chris Brown isn't the best role model for you guys, but some of his songs relate to some of these topics, which is why I picked them. All right, for commoners, most people in the empire were commoners. Not surprisingly, they were farmers and herders. Herders, like herding animals. They had to support the government with their own labor and with special projects. The men built some of the work that might be done. Men might build roads and women might weave cloth. And you can see here there's some terraces. Those are to the left. That's the type of farming that the Incas used. So the Incas, foods that were important to the Inca were squash, peppers, beans, peanuts. They had 20 types of corn. They had 200 types of potato. And the reason why the potato was really important to them is because the potatoes could survive frost at altitudes as high as 15,000 feet above sea level. So since a lot of the civilization was in the Andes Mountains, the potatoes were good because they could survive these frosts. And you may notice in the lower right-hand corner a delicacy, something looking really tasty, and that would be guinea pig. Now, guinea pig they weren't animals for the Inca, but they were a food that they ate. If you were an Incan child, you would start working really young. It's not like they went to school, so that's what you just did for your life. You worked. Girls would take care of babies, cook, made clothing. Boys would help in the fields or look after animals. They did not receive formal education, which is different than the Aztec commoner boys who were sent to school to train to be soldiers. They learned skills and customs from their elders and older relatives. However, for sons of nobles, they had tutors that taught them religion, geometry, history, military strategy, and physical training. So those were some of the topics they learned about. The boys had a coming of age ceremony, just like the Maya boys at age 15. They had to pass month-long tests of courage, strength, and discipline. And after passing the tests, the boys swore loyalty to the Sapa Inca and got weapons of the Inca. And it's basically, a sign that they're now, adults in the Incan society. For Incan marriage, male commoners only had one wife, and men married in the early 20s. Women could marry at 16 years, really similar to the ages of the Aztec and Maya when they got married. Marriages could be arranged by families, the men, the women themselves, or government officials might arrange marriage if a man hadn't married by a certain age. That's Queen, which may be a group that your parents are more familiar with than you, but that's one of their songs. As for Inca religion, just like the Maya and Aztecs, the Inca thought that the gods influenced their daily lives and controlled parts of nature, like rain. Just like the Aztecs, the sun god was the most important, and that would be Inti, I-N-T-I. They thought the sun god was important because the god was the god of agriculture. Well, the sun was the god of agriculture, which was the basis of Incan life, and farming was really important to them. They needed a lot of priests to perform rituals and ceremonies, just like the Aztec and Maya, and the most important temples were dedicated to Inti. So, for Inca sacrifices, some were offered daily, such as priests throwing corn on a fire to encourage the sun to appear. In some rituals, animals like llamas and guinea pigs were sacrificed, and human sacrifice only happened on special occasions and in times of natural disaster. So that is more similar to what happened with the Maya than the Aztec. Children might be sacrificed because the Incas believed that the purity of children honored the gods. And I can tell you more about this in class. And at the bottom of the screen now, you have an Inca mummy that was found in the Andes Mountains, and I have some interesting facts about that, but it's a young girl. I think she might be around 12 or 14. I don't remember off the top of my head what her age is.
Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one gone, and another one gone. Another one bites the dust. Hey, hey, we're gonna get you too. Another one bites the dust.
So that's for sacrifices. And this song is for the sacrificing of the corn each day to get the sun to appear. So is this song. So the last topic has to do with when new groups were added to the Inca Empire. So a lot, just like the Aztecs, some joined like peacefully through alliances. Some joined after going to war with the Inca because the Inca had a good military. Groups that initially resisted joining the empire almost always were defeated by the Inca. Right, and that was similar to the Aztecs. So sometimes it was peaceful, sometimes it wasn't. And here's my third Queen song of the video.
Singing, we will rock you. We will rock you.
Alright, so most of this information is filled in for you, but the thing that you need to fill in is that Part D, Incas would take an important religious object of a tribe that was being added to the Inca Empire. They would bring it to the capital of Cusco, and they said they were bringing it to show respect for the local religion, but in the end, really, they were keeping it, kind of holding it hostage so that in case the tribe rebelled later, the Incas would destroy the object. Alright, so I hope you learned some new information about the Inca. At this point, you should write a summary using facts from the presentation. Maybe think about what was unique about the Inca, something surprising, just a good summary or general statements related to what you learned in the video. There's also some questions sent to your Littleton email address, so you should use notes to answer those questions, and your answers to those questions should use information from this presentation, not from other information you may have about the Incas. And that is the end. Thanks for watching. Bye.